Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's time for the Brown Sports Bag. From the heart of the Barrens, a weekly local sports machine. Alongside John Butler, here's your host, James Brown.
Well, John, we have a group of segments here that we plan on carrying out. But actually, you know what? We're going to just start at the end today, just because you and I were having such a good conversation about this before we even got started, and we'll get to the other stuff here in a little bit. All right. What we were talking about before we came on the air was some of the reactions here at the opening of Major League Baseball, open of spring training and that kind of stuff, to all of the stuff that went down with the Astros during the off season. and you know, we've seen a couple of players that are on other teams. You saw the interview with the Dodgers and talking about it, and the Dodgers were a victim, so to speak, of the Astros cheating in the World Series in 2017. And then they also lost again the next year, and there's some still questions about what the Red Sox may or may not have done. So, I mean, they certainly have a raw spot when it comes to this whole cheating scandal with the Astros. And then this morning, I think it was this morning, that Mike Trout, who never talks to anybody, was asked about the Astros circumstance. And I will summarize what he said. And basically he said, and the biggest thing it seemed to me that he was saying was, it's a black eye for Major League Baseball, because it makes it to where, can the fans trust anything? And also, can the players trust anything? And he's seemed rather disappointed in the lack of decisive action taken toward the Astros. Now, some people and I think he meant the players, not the management and that kind of stuff, because that action has been taken. And maybe their titles should be stripped. He didn't necessarily say that directly, but he said, it seems like enough has not been done to deal with the circumstance, and I feel like that he was basically saying he does not like how that makes Major League Baseball look.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you're talking about failing crisis management.
Oh, yeah.
Baseball, the Astros, has completely failed in how to manage a crisis.
Yeah. And
one of the things how you manage a crisis is what I've been taught is you get out in front of it. And admit your mistakes.
I used to have people who would ask me when I worked at the Daily Times. They would ask me questions like, if I run for public office, what would be one of the major things that you would say to me from a journalist perspective? And I'd say, if you make a mistake, own up to it, walk out in front of it, say, we're going to I apologize. I'm not going to cover anything up, but let's move on as well.
Yeah, that was the same thing. If you're running for office, on day one that I announced my candidacy, I would also announce every sin that I committed to.
Right.
So let's just get this out on the open right now.
Yeah,
here it is, right here.
Yeah, let's just get the air clear so we can just focus on what we got to do.
That's correct. And baseball has just it's atrocious what they're going through right now.
Yeah.
And it's been mismanaged by the commissioner, and probably worse than that, the Astros.
Oh yeah,
who are in that kind of terrible state where they're kind of sorry.
Yeah, we used to call this being in the barrel for the Astros.
Yeah.
You get down in the barrel and everybody's taking shots at you, and the thing you got to do is whatever is necessary to get out of the barrel. But part of that is you have to own up to your mistakes.
Correct.
You have to apologize for them. You have to commit to not doing them anymore. And you also have to accept the punishment with humility.
Yes.
They don't do any of those things.
Doesn't seem like it. And it's going to be a long year for them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just written all over the wall that it's not that will there be retaliation? Yes, probably so. But I just think the stress and the scrutiny they're going to be under. One thing about baseball is you got to have a clear mind to play it.
Mm.
You have to be relaxed and clear minded, and because one of the hardest things in sports to do is to hit a baseball.
Oh yeah.
And they are just going to be under such a dark cloud that I think they're really going to struggle. The more I think about it, I think the right thing for baseball to have done was to not give the World Series championship to the Dodgers or whoever. That's not the right approach.
But you could win it.
But you could. I think it's very fair to take the title away from them, because I just know from playing baseball at a decent level, and I played college baseball at Louisville. Not very successfully, but I will say that if I knew what pitch was coming, I'd have played a lot longer.
Well, and that's one of the things Mike Trout said. He said,
Yeah.
if I knew the pitch that was coming, it would be a lot more fun for
Right.
me.
And baseball has to get over this culture where it just seems like every so many years there's another. It's either steroids or it's it was the Pete Rose gambling deal, which seems almost minor now personally, and now sign stealings and has been around for years, but not to this level where you use technology to steal and then communicate signs.
Basically a system of sign
if you're
stealing.
dumb enough to have a runner on second and you're dumb enough just to have obvious signs that the guy on second can just raise his hand or tip his hat that here comes a fastball. Well, that's one thing, but baseball is full of so many unwritten rules and this and that, and I think they're going to have to get a hold of this, and this is it's the sport has lost in certain ways a certain fan base, and this certainly doesn't help it.
Well, and I tell you another thing about the Astros situation within the clubhouse itself is you have people who were not involved in this, who are now part of the organization, people who may still be a part of the organization from 2017 who were not involved in this, and within the clubhouse itself, I imagine there will be a lot of friction between some of these people. Sometimes you look at these crisis situations and it brings a group together, but I don't think that's going to be the case with the Astros.
The power of peer pressure is amazing.
Yeah.
That even with people of that age, you had to know when all that was going on that there were some people in that clubhouse who knew that was a wrong thing.
Yeah.
The manager admitted he knew it and was wrong.
Right.
But you didn't have one person that had the guts to step up and to say, "Hey guys, we can't do this." Not one person that had the leadership or the guts to call out teammates or just to say, "Hey guys, this is unethical. This is wrong." Not one person did it. They did it 2 years later.
Yeah. The problem with whistleblowers is that, especially in the heat of that particular moment.
Yeah, who is the rat? How come they get called the rat when actually they're probably the one doing the right thing?
Yeah, and the thing is that if you take that type of action, you're basically putting your career over with. I mean, you're done in a lot of ways, probably.
Probably, maybe not this time.
Maybe not this time, but you didn't know that in 2017.
That's true.
I mean, in hindsight, it's easy to say somebody should have been able to do that, but in the moment, I mean, we've all been in circumstances where in the moment we're like,
it takes courage.
What am I going to do?
I know, and I didn't say it's easy.
Oh no,
but there were veterans in that clubhouse.
Yeah.
And they had a manager.
Yep. Well, and his story, we hashed this about a month ago whenever we were talking about his story is its own type of wreck, where he tried to take an action, but it wasn't the right one.
No.
And in the end, I mean, he ends up paying for it, and it says he should have just taken the right action in hindsight, right?
Yeah, because now the commissioner is right in the sense he said it will be tainted, but it'll be tainted for so long. After a while, when people 30 years from now, they're going to just see a banner up there as World, Series champion, and I don't know. It's I'm trying not to be a hypocrite because I didn't think Louisville should have lost their banner.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think what they did, the strippers, though morally wrong, had anything to do with the play on the field.
Yeah, it's not necessarily related to wins and losses.
Right, and in this case, it had a direct effect.
Yeah.
And
now, if they had hired strippers and sent them to the opposing team's locker room, that'd have been a different story.
Right, but this...
pregame, I mean.
But this is a completely on the field... that maybe only affected 2 or 3 games, but daggone, in a 7-game series, that's all it takes, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and another thing that Mike Trout pointed out was the cheating affected other people's careers, not related to the Astros. Affected the money they could make, and the ability to play, the perception of their careers itself. And
the commissioner made one statement that really just kind of crawled over me yesterday in his interview with, I think it was ESPN. Mm-hmm. And he said that he was worried about how this cheating how it affects young players. And there's some Little League teams that have eliminated the name Astros already.
Yeah.
He was very concerned of how that set an example. And I'm thinking, well, if you were that concerned, the ultimate thing you could do is not to get rid of the manager and GM. or fine Houston $5 million. You could, if it was that big of a concern, then maybe take the title away.
Well, and that also is the point, that we were talking about people in the locker room with the Astros, whether or not they could have been whistleblowers and they should have taken the proper action. His job is to take the proper action. And, I mean, I'm with you. I don't give the title to the Dodgers.
No.
But I just don't think you can reward the Astros with the banner and them being in the record books as the World Series champs. I just don't think you can do it.
I agree.
And his job right now in this moment is to make that decision. And if he can't, it should probably be taken out of his hands.
Yeah, and it is. The baseball players all across the league outside of Houston are not happy.
Yeah, I mean, if you
it's startling. You didn't see that reaction to steroids.
No, you did not. Well, because I think a lot of the players didn't believe that necessarily impacted the outcomes of the games. It may have impacted individual stats and their abilities, but I think a lot of players didn't, they did not say somebody won a title because of their cheating. They may have gotten more money or whatever.
And I think most people in baseball understand, too, that if you know what pitch is coming, it is a huge advantage.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think for non-baseball players, I could never hit anything, so it doesn't matter. They could have told me what was coming, I couldn't hit it. But But I think a lot of non-baseball players probably underestimate the importance of that at that level. Because, I mean, you're talking about reading a pitch in a fraction of a second coming out of the hand to start with. But if you already know what it is, the only way you're going to miss it is if the pitcher misses.
Right. Well, even you can go all the way down to Little League and T-ball, high school. I mean, the last time, when I was throwing batting practice to either baseball or a softball team. If you tell them, here comes a fastball, every time, I mean, most even little leaguers or high schoolers, they'll hit it all the time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you just throw in a curve occasionally, they have no idea. I mean, they miss it a mile. But if you tell them, okay, guys, here, we're going to work on the curveballs. Here comes the spin. They hit it.
Right.
And it's equally the same at the professional at the pro level. When somebody's throwing 98. It's hard to hit, but you can get on a 98-mile-an-hour fastball if you know what's coming, especially those guys. But if you know for a fact that the next pitch is going to be a changeup, which is like 10 miles an hour slower.
Yeah.
Boy, that is just such a huge advantage.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a quick break from the MLB side of this. We'll jump down here to what was going to be segment 3 and talk a little bit about the college baseball season opened over the weekend. WKU, they played again today. Valpo, they backed up their games, so they played Saturday, Sunday, and today. Won games 1 and 2 yesterday. Dalton Shoemake of Glasgow was a winning pitcher for the Hilltoppers. Came in the 5th inning. I think he struck out 3 and just generally kept the game under wraps until they could salt away the win. And then Louisville, they picked a nice opponent to open their season with down at Ole Miss. Went 1 and 2 down there. Kentucky opened at TCU and went 0-3 in their opening. Those are 2 pretty good squads for Louisville and Kentucky to open with, generally speaking.
Yeah, well, Louisville's also number 1 in the nation. Them and Vanderbilt are 1 and 2.
Yeah,
and I mean, you're not going to play. I mean, that's normal. You're going to go on the road, play somebody normally good in a warm weather environment. I don't put a lot of stock into these early February games at all. It's just a start or whatever.
Yeah.
It's good for Western in terms who struggled the last so many years. It's good for them. I think it's more important for them to get off to a good start than say Louisville's going to be there at the end of the year. I mean, they're loaded.
Right.
They'll be at the end of the year. They'll be 50 and 10.
Well, and Ole Miss is usually one of the top 5 SEC schools.
Yep, and you play down there, and it's a. Probably Ole Miss has been outside more than Louisville. No excuse, but I'm just, I'm not concerned with Louisville at all.
Yeah, well, and I agree with you. I think that's a good opening weekend for WKU. They needed to get off to a good start this year. They're kind of like the Reds in a way. One year they'll hit the ball well, but their pitching's not so great, and the next year the pitching will be good, and they don't hit the ball so well. So we'll see how it pans out this year.
Yeah, Dalton had a good year last year. Came in relief, and I mean he was a little up and down, but one thing about it, he was consistent in the amount of innings. I mean they used him a lot last year, and And he got the win, and on Saturday, the kid out of South Warren got the win, who missed last year due to an arm injury.
Right.
And I've just gone blank on his name, but pitching has been Western's by far biggest problem.
Right.
So if they can get some good pitching, that's a good omen for them.
Yep. Well, so baseball season is here. The MLB could be entertaining in ways they didn't expect it to be entertaining, and hopefully our college baseball teams have good years this year. This is Brown Sports Bag, brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Well, John, from the Astros, we're going to now attempt to explain the scheduling for WKU basketball. I'm trusting your expertise. So what is it? 2 years ago,
Yes.
Marshall and WKU played in the conference finals. I think the conference thought that both those teams should have had a bid to the NCAA tournament. And so when only Marshall got in when they won the game and WKU ended up in the NIT, they cooked up a schedule that they hoped would pit the highest RPI teams in the conference against each other in the final 4 games. I'm on it right now?
Yes.
So that's what they did, except...
Theory being that the more teams that you can play with a better RPI, it helps your RPI.
Yes. And generally speaking, that would be true. The problem is Conference USA's RPI as a conference isn't as high as some other conferences. No. And this inter-conference RPI doesn't, because of that, these games don't really boost either team.
The bottom of the conference kills Conference USA.
It does.
It just kills them. I mean, there's teams in Conference USA, multiple teams in the mid to high 200s.
Yeah.
And the lower of the RPI is the better. Obviously, top 30, top 35, you're a really good team if you have those RPIs. Like the Western women is a 29.
Yeah.
But it's just so they tried to leave the last 4 games free, and then after so many games, they were going to match up the top 4 teams in the conference would play each other again at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, that would boost your RPI. It has been, in my opinion, a colossal failure.
Yeah. Well, and
they tried. I'll give them that, but that's not how you fix it.
No, and I just don't. Like we talked about a little bit last week. Once you are in conference play, it's probably too late to greatly affect your RPI.
Right, and from a logistic. First of all, Conference USA is very difficult to travel.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
Yeah, 4 teams in Texas, and you got the 2 teams down in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and so it's a logistic problem. Just to give you an example, for the WKU men, on their part of their 4 games, they play Charlotte at home, Louisiana Tech at home. Mm-hmm. Then they fly to North Texas again.
Right.
North Texas is first in the conference at 12-2. Mm-hmm. Then they come back and then fly again to Florida International, who's 8-6 in the conference. So that's flying all the way below Miami. Mm. Those are 2 tough trips, flying to North Texas and then coming back, flying back to Miami. And then once they get back from Miami, they fly again to Texas because that's where the Conference USA tournament is. That is really difficult.
Well, and I think WKU is technically number 2 now in the conference.
They are 11-3 in the conference.
Yeah,
had a really good week last week.
They did. Great comeback on Saturday.
They beat UTEP on Thursday and a tremendous. The last 3 times they played at UTSA, Texas San Antonio, there's been an overtime 3 straight times.
Yeah,
and Jared Savage was tremendous. He had 26 points against UTSA and give them credit. Without Charles Bassey to go 11-3 in a conference, it's a credit. They've done a good job.
Is Tim Floyd still at UTEP? Is that where he is?
I think that's right. Yes.
Yeah. That just popped in my head. Anyway, he's another Hattiesburg guy, by the way.
Okay.
So it would seem like you would think what would happen if you were the number 2 in the conference. Yes, you're going to play the other 4 teams that are in the top 5 because you're one of them. Then you might get the benefit in some way of being the number 2, but you wind up with why do you have to be on the road for FAU? So, like, okay, let's say that North Texas is the number one. Maybe they should get 4 home games. I mean, they've, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean,
well, they didn't do it that way. You get 2 home, 2 away.
Yeah, so there's that screwy part. And then it just doesn't do what they wanted it to do.
No, and it's just like I said, it's financially the schools, I assume, are responsible for your travel. That's a tough trips. A lot of not that most people don't care, but just it's difficult academically when you're going back and forth, and things like that. And no, I know that's not a big issue for a lot of people, but that's just. I would predict that this will probably be the last year of this.
Yeah, I've not seen any reporting from anybody within the conference who's happy with the way this is working.
And it's even worse for the women. They left the 4 unscheduled game for the women, but they don't base it on RPI.
Yeah, what do they base it on?
I've asked several people down Western, and I can't get an answer. The women play.
It's like they drew straws.
Yeah, the women go back. They go to Florida Atlantic, who's one of the worst teams in the conference. They go to Middle, which you kind of would think they'd play Middle twice anyway. But they don't. And then they have Charlotte and Louisiana Tech that come to. And neither of those, the top 3 teams in the conference are Rice, Old Dominion, and Western, and they don't play each other.
Right. One of the things I think I'd like to see them do, if they want to have some sort of flexible schedule or whatever, what I'd like to see them do is maybe some sort of rivalry schedule at the end, so that, talking about the Middle Tennessee, so that basically maybe it's you don't play Middle Tennessee until the last 2 games of the season, and then you alternate it, home and home, so the women are down there and the men are at Diddle, and then flip it and do it the other way around for like Thursday, Saturday or something.
Now, the Lady Toppers are in good shape. They're at 29 on the RPI. Mm-hmm. Even though they're not first in the conference, they have a really good shot even without winning the tournament. It'd be hard to keep a RPI team of 29 or 30 out of the tournament.
Yeah,
it'd be hard to. I mean, that's a credit to their out of conference schedule.
Yeah,
playing the Louisvilles, the Oklahomas, St. Mary's, and things like that to have such a high RPI.
Mm-hmm. Well, and part of the scheduling of all this stuff that makes it a little tricky around here is
hard
the
to get
Fourth
people
Region tournament.
Okay, yeah.
Because what happens is we're playing the Fourth Region tournament at Diddle Arena, so they don't know what the schedule is as they're preparing for the tournament, meaning the folks who are getting the tournament together, because they don't know what the men's schedule is going to look like, whether it's going to be 2 home games, 2 away games, flipped around.
And the men's schedule is not going to hurt them because the men play.
This year it worked out
That's
that
right,
way.
because the Western men play. They're going to play this coming Saturday and Thursday.
Yeah.
That's during district tournament time. Right. And their 2 away games will be during the region. So that's not a problem. The problem is the Western women now have a Thursday game with Charlotte on the regional tournament week, and then a Saturday game, a 2 o'clock game with La Tech. So that's going to knock out Thursday. Saturday night is still could be a play-in for the regional tournament, but Thursday's definitely going to be out in terms of the girls and boys regional tournament at Diddle.
Well, I think this kind of happened in 2017 with the regional tournament, and they ended up playing 2 games on Sunday. This year it'll be March 1st. That would be that Sunday. So the district tournaments would end on Friday. They'll do the regional draw on Saturday morning. They'll start the tournament on Sunday.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that.
No, it's
Monday's fine.
Yeah.
But you kind of like to enjoy your district title, to be honest with you.
Well, and I remember in 2017, the coaches were like, one set of coaches, I think the ones who won were like, it didn't matter. Mm-hmm. The ones who lost were like, we'd like to have the extra day.
Right.
And you never know because they do that draw on, you've
Saturday
seen
morning.
each other through the year and the teams in the region and that kind of stuff. But
it's a big help to the favorite.
Yes.
I will tell you this just from coaching. It's a huge help if you're a favorite. Because, you play Friday, just play Sunday. Teams have to prepare for you more than you have to worry about the other team.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you're the best team out of your district, a lot of times you're one of the best teams in the region, you know what you're going to do.
That's right.
They got to figure out some way to stop you, and some of them may not have seen you. They may not have played you this year, and even if they did, you probably have some wrinkles they weren't ready for. And the other thing is, you can't really do, if you're the underdog team, so to speak, you can't do a full practice on Saturday afternoon getting ready to play that game on Sunday. You got to be fresh. So you basically can only do a walkthrough of what you want to try to do. And maybe some of the teams you're trying to deal with, if they press or they run a certain kind of defense, or they have a player that's good in certain ways that you need to scheme for, you're really not able to scheme properly.
I agree. That's what I think. It's a big advantage to a favorite.
Yeah, so I think
now and the opposite. If I'm a favorite, I don't want a week off either. For favorites want to play. Yeah. That's right. A week off, there's a lot of bad things can happen too. Plus, and when you get after a week off, sometimes you get a little stale and rusty, which brings everybody down to the same level.
Yeah. Well, and going back to 2017, as I recall, the favorite coaches were the ones who were not bothered by it at all, because they were like, "Hey, we're playing well. We just want to keep playing."
That's correct.
And the others, I'm reminded of years ago when Tim McMurtry was coaching Metcalfe County. I think it was in 2007. They got to the regional final. They were playing Warren Central, but they only had one day. I think they played the semifinals on Friday and the finals on Saturday. And Warren Central was a dominant team at that particular point, as they are most years. And they won the game pretty handily. And after the game, Tim told me, he goes, I'd have liked to have one more day to prepare for them. And I was like,
and the rest.
Well, and
if you're shorthanded,
and the funny thing, I was like, looked at him because I was like, what would you have done? He goes, I don't know, but we'd have had a day to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. That's right. No, he's right.
I was like, good point. I mean, you guys weren't supposed to be here anyway. I mean, Trey Shirley, I think, had hit it like a deep three to get him there to start with. So he was living on borrowed time to start with. Anyway, this is Brown Sports Bag, brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Well, John, we talked about the 4th region scheduling situation, trying to play around what will be the WKU Lady Toppers pair of home games in that first week of March. Meanwhile, the district tournaments, the 15th district tournament is set. They did the drawing, so to speak, on Wednesday down at Allen County. I think everybody came down there to each shoulder as much as anything else, because the way it worked out was it was set already. The only question was, when were they going to play the games?
Well, they did something different, though.
They did do something different. I'm glad they did it the way they did it, because I'm sure it makes life for fans and maybe even coaches easier. What they are doing is next Monday at Allen County High School, the Barron County will play Monroe County girls and boys, and then turn around on Tuesday, Glasgow will play Allen County, both boys and girls and boys.
That's the first time in my memory.
Yeah.
And I've been here 26 years.
Yeah.
That the girls and boys play on the same night. It's never, as far as and I don't know how long it goes back, but every year since I've been doing it, you have girls one night, boys the next night, and then finals with the girls Thursday and finals with the boys. This is you see this in the district with the 16th district does that way.
Yeah,
and you see some other districts, they'll combine them, especially if the same teams are playing each other. But even in the 16th down with Metcalfe, it's a girl-boy doubleheader, but it may not be the same two teams. But they have a girls' game at 6 and a boys' game at 8, but it could be all 4 teams could be possibly playing.
Right.
I think it works out good if you're a fan. Financially, it works out good for you.
Yeah,
because you can.
They're not going to have to clear the gym this year and get the other fans in as well.
Well, and also you can go Monday and watch both of your teams play for the same ticket price, as opposed to if you wanted to. For example, if you're a Barron County fan, that would have cost you. You'd have to pay ticket price for Monday, Tuesday.
By the way, tickets will be $6.
Okay, so that part is better in that sense, and there's probably be a better crowd situation too.
Yeah,
I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm going back and forth on that. I think it will be, but I'm not for sure. Sometimes when you put 3 schools, for example, in the gym on the same night, that crowd gets up there.
Yeah.
So
I would say this though, for the student sections, I bet you it will be better. I don't know about the parents and general fans, but I think for the student sections, it'll work out pretty well.
It's rare that, to be honest with you, all 4 schools would agree to it. It's hard for you get unanimous consent on anything.
Right.
So I was a little surprised that all 4 schools agreed to it, and
I think
we'll
it
see.
helps.
I think it helps I think it really helps the fans' perspective in terms of money.
Yeah.
Be interested to see if what the results at the end of the week will be financially.
Right.
If it hurts or helps.
Well, and I think one thing that does help
because they're
us
taking
out,
Wednesday off too.
Yeah, I think that's the part that kind of helps us out from probably the coaching and player perspective, because you're not turning around and playing back-to-back games. The girls get, even if you play on Monday.
The only negative is,
yeah,
from a playing perspective, is that your 2-3 game, which is Glasgow Allen, in girls. Whoever comes out of that will only have 1 day to prepare.
Yeah.
That's the only negative. Now, I don't think that's a big deal. I mean, be perfectly playing back-to-back, that would be a big deal if one team had 2 days off and you didn't have any.
Right.
But that's the only slight difference. But this time of year, just if I went on Tuesday, I'd be very comfortable playing on Thursday.
Well, and I was going to say, I mean, as we have discussed through the course of this season in the 15th District, especially boys, but girls as well, by the time we get to this tournament, these teams know each other so well. I mean, and it's just year in and year out like this in the 15th District, that they know each other so well. There's probably not a whole lot of wrinkles people can put in that are going to be throw people off, I would guess.
I agree.
Anyway, so that's kind of the setup for that district. And as you mentioned, the girls' final will be on the Thursday, and the boys' final will be on the Friday. The 18th district, they're playing their schedule a little differently. They actually are playing Tuesday, Wednesday instead of Monday, Tuesday. And so the Caverna boys play on Tuesday against LaRue County at Greene County, and then the Caverna girls play on Wednesday against Hart County at Greene County. And their girls' final will be on Friday.
And boys.
Yeah. So they're doing theirs a little differently. They're taking Thursday off. Well, they're not playing Monday. But I guess the fifth region plays their boys and girls at 2 different locations.
The regional tournament.
Yeah, the regional tournaments, and I'm guessing that's why they have they can start a little later or something.
I don't know. I don't understand that. To be honest with you, I don't understand why they're not playing on Monday. It doesn't. I'm from Greene County, so and I haven't talked to anybody about that, but it seems a little odd where they just take Monday off. I would think you'd start Monday. I figured you'd go Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, but
yeah,
they're going to go Tuesday, Wednesday, which seems a little odd, and then come back Friday. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I wouldn't have done it that way, but they didn't call and ask me.
They said you are from Greene County. You don't live here anymore.
That's right. I get no say so.
Also, though, one of the things that came out this past week was the 4th Region Players and Coaches of the Year. The players move on and are in contention for Mr. and Miss Basketball. And on the girls' side, it was Barron County's Elizabeth Bertram. Thought that was a pretty good choice. She's probably one thing just to point out right off. I mean,
you got to be a senior.
You got to be a senior, but also Barron lost 4 starters. She's the only starter back. And she is leading them in scoring.
20 a game.
Yep, and she obviously sets the pace for the team in so many different ways. And it's a good reason. She's a good reason why they are at 20 wins again.
I think she was very deserving.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, what I've seen, she's the best player in the region.
Yeah.
I mean, she's the most dominant scorer, and has been a huge, obviously, the focal point on a team that has contending again, as you mentioned, with losing 4, not just 4 starters, but about 70% of their scoring.
Yeah.
And rebounding was lost too.
Mm-hmm.
The only exception was mainly Elizabeth.
Yep.
And they're right back in a hunt trying to win it again. She's very deserving. Ashanti Gore had a good year too as a senior.
Absolutely.
Was another senior that was deserving as well of a lot of mention as well. But I think, in fairness, I think Elizabeth is a very deserving award winner.
Yeah. And then Warren Cunningham was the boys' coach of the year for the 4th region. I thought that was also, again, a good pick, because I would say that they have exceeded what people's expectations were for the Trojans this year.
Outstanding year.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been so good defensively all year. Got some good wins.
Mm-hmm.
Knocked off some really good teams. Went on a 7 or 8 game winning streak, and they are staring at 20 wins. Won the district. Very, very deserving. I was just trying to think off the top of my head. Of course, I'm happy for Warren. I think he does a great job every year. but probably Coach Tinsley at Logan County was probably in the running too. And you take those two. I mean, you could probably give it, to Warren Central almost, Coach Unsel a lot of years. But, after a while, it's hard when you've won enough. It's kind of hard to continue to get those.
Yeah. Sometimes maybe your coaching gets discounted because
your
talent is so good on the squad.
I think it's fair.
Yeah.
It happens.
And that kind of brings me to one of the things that I thought was a little bit controversial because the new girls coach at Russell County was the girls coach of the year. And there were a couple that sprang to mind that I thought were pretty deserving as well. One would be Piper Lindsay because of what we've already talked about with what they lost and how well they've done this year. The other would be Jenny Neville at Warren East.
It's a fabulous job.
Yeah, I mean, Coach O had them trending in the right direction, but they've had some huge wins this year. You can see the development of the players.
Friday, 52-51. They lost on the last second shot to Bowling Green. Nobody in the region has been that close to Bowling Green.
No, I mean, Bowling Green's beating up everybody.
Double digits.
Yeah, including Barron and Glasgow, who were probably considered the second and third best teams in the region behind Bowling Green.
Yep.
And so, but mostly, though, when you watch Warren East play, you can see the development of the players,
right.
I think, as much as anything, especially somebody like Lucy Patterson. You could see the potential she has. I mean, she's good at every sport she plays, but, I mean, she's really caught fire here lately. And a lot of that's got to be credit to the coach.
I've moved Warren East in my top 4.
Yeah.
My ranking.
Yeah. I would totally agree.
It's Bowling Green, Barron, Glasgow, East.
Yeah.
That's my 4 right there.
Yeah.
I'm living with it.
Look, this might be the most interesting 14th district in a while, too, on the girls' side.
Yeah, it's not I mean, there's a 3-way tie for second, third, and fourth.
Yeah.
And that's a huge deal because Warren East is one of those 4. And if they get the wrong draw, you could conceivably see Bowling Green Warren East as a semifinal.
Yeah. I mean, so and that also brings me to another coach that I would say has done a great job this year, and that'd be Joe Hood at Warren Central.
He really has. I think I said it's Warren East, Warren Central, and South Warren are all in a 3-way tie. Greenwood is actually, who knocked off Barron, is actually 0-8 in the district.
Yeah, they not won a district game.
That's hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, because I thought they were better than that, but that also, when you look at some of their scores, they've played some close games in the 14th district. So you're right, anything could happen there. But let's get back to Joe Hood. I mean, last year he battled cancer.
Last 2 years, basically.
Last 2 years, yes. And that had to have an impact on what was going on, in the program.
Lost some good players who transferred.
That is right. And he's come back this year. He's fired up. His team plays with tenacity. Their skill level is getting better.
Yeah, I wrote them off earlier in the year. It's just
they were a disaster the first time I saw them.
They kind of look like they've been the last 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. And man, they've taken off since Christmas.
Yep. Well, I saw them on the Saturday against Barron County, and Barron won the game handily enough, as you would expect them to. But I told Joe after the game, I said, your team is looking good. I mean, they are coming along. They missed a bunch of easy shots against Barron, and they were closer probably in that game at the end than a lot of folks figured they would be. And I was impressed, and they've just been more impressive since then.
Yes.
By the way, beat Warren East. What was it, last week? I believe it was.
That's correct.
And so, I mean, as you already said, you think of them as like the 4th best team in the region. So, I mean, that's another coach that. This isn't taking anything away from the guy at Russell County.
I'm happy for Joe.
I am too.
Good guy, and I like his parents too. They're good people.
Yeah, I mean, and I like I said, you can see that this team has improved quite a bit in the last few weeks. So the guy at Russell County is, I'm sure, doing a great job.
He has done a good job. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
His first year too.
Yeah, also his first year. But I thought there were a couple of other coaches, just looking down the list, that I thought probably have done more than you would expect with the teams they have. And let me just be honest, Barron, Warren Central, and Warren East have all played tougher schedules, I think, than Russell County has.
Yes.
That's my opinion.
That's why you're doing this.
Yeah, that's to give you my opinion on that.
Well, it's amazing that we're at this point where this is the last regular season game.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the last regular season week.
Yep.
This is right here.
Yeah.
And that, it's for real starting next week. And that's just, man, it just goes by fast.
It does. By the way, Warren East plays at Caverna tonight. I'll be over there to check that out.
And Barron hosts Metcalf tomorrow.
Yep, and Glasgow hosts Cumberland County. For Glasgow, that'll be their senior night.
Okay. And Glasgow ends the season Thursday with Franklin.
Yep.
Barron ends their season Thursday at Clinton.
Yep. So the traditional end to the season with Clinton County, right?
We always, since I took over for Coach Steenbergen, and it's never changed. Both girls and boys ends with the 16th district.
Yeah,
that has been a tradition for 26 years. I know of, probably longer than that.
Yeah. When you real quick, when you look down at the other districts, the 13th, the 14th, 15th, 16th. We'll just take out the 15th. When you look at the 16th and the 13th, who do you? I mean, I would guess Russell County would be the favorite on the boys and girls side. No, maybe Clinton County on the boys.
Clinton would be the favorite in the boys,
yeah.
I think.
And maybe I think Russell and Metcalf. It might be a toss-up between those.
Metcalf
two.
has not won a district game,
which is crazy.
Yes, in boys, that's correct. Now they beat some of those same district teams in the All A, like Clinton. I don't know if they beat Cumberland in All A or not, but they have not won a regular season district game.
Yeah,
amazing. and they've also lost 7 straight since they've come back from Richmond.
Yeah,
though they did take Allen County Scottsville to overtime last week.
Yep.
So you got to think there's something left they could turn it around. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if any of those teams come out of that.
Yeah.
I think Clinton probably will for sure, but the other 3, I don't think it's going to be Cumberland, to be perfectly honest with you. But I think Metcalf has a – heck, I thought they were really good last year in regional tournament.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Clinton probably has the best individual player in Chase Steins, I think it is, their point guard. He's kind of a gritty all-around kind of basketball player. But when I saw Russell County play Barron,
I thought they played well.
Yeah, and somebody told me that their point guard had been missing part of the year.
Yes.
So that's probably had an impact on their season. But they had some good-looking players. On the girls' side, I would say it's probably Russell County. But then again, Metcalf. I
think it's Russell and Metcalf are by far the best 2.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if those 2 didn't come out of it.
Right. And then in the 13th, on the boys' side,
Logan by far.
Logan is the best team by far.
Yeah,
the number 2 team could be any of those 3.
Yeah, you can argue Logan's, right there with Bowling Green and Central. They have not played them.
Right.
But they've won 20 straight. Mm-hmm. It's pretty good.
Yeah, not a bad day's work.
No, they've won 20 straight games. Have not lost in the region.
Yeah.
The caveat is they have not played Bowling Green or Warren Central. Mm-hmm. But still, everybody that's watched them play will tell you that's a good team.
Yeah.
They're going to come out. It's Logan and Franklin.
Yeah.
Todd Central, Russellville, they're way down this year in boys.
That's right. Yeah, Russellville is way off. And Todd
they're I think you can bank on Logan and Franklin.
Yeah, and then on the girls' side, I would guess it's Logan.
And there's not. Russellville is the only team in that district that has a winning record.
But I think they lost to Logan twice.
Yeah. Now Russellville, I've not seen them play, but have some people that I know down that district tells me they have one really good player.
Yeah,
she's a 6'2" inside player that can really play.
Mm-hmm.
But their schedule's been really weak. Logan should come out of it. They've got by far the best talent.
Yeah,
it hadn't really fit for them. They're not always, I don't know, together maybe or whatever. But they still tend to dominate that district the last 3 years.
Yeah,
the question is, can Franklin? A friend of mine, Lex Lindsay's back coaching Franklin. Can Franklin pull the upset and knock off Russellville? And I think it's probably 50-50.
Yeah. And I really thought Franklin was going to be better this year.
Well, they've
had some injuries.
They've had injuries, yeah. They've lost their second leading scorer, tore ACL around Christmas, and their point guard that is really key to them has missed several games due to injury and other things. So, and they're brutally young. I think they only have 8 or 9 players they play, and they've just called up some 8th graders and things like that. So they're brutally young, but I don't think you have to be great to come out of that district. Let me just say that. And so it is what it is. So if you're going to play in it, you might as well win it, right?
Yeah, might as well.
And that would be I think that would be a great honor for Franklin to come out of that district.
Yeah. This year in the 4th region on the boys' side, it feels more competitive.
It is.
Than it has been sometimes.
Yes.
On the girls' side, it seems very lopsided. Like you've got 4 or 5 good teams, and then I don't know.
Very few. Just look at the records.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only 5 teams, maybe.
Yeah.
5 out of the 16 got winning records. We said that all year. The boys are much deeper.
Yeah.
Girls, it's I don't know. Just it is what it is. But I do think you have 4. I think there's. Listen, you got to beat Bowling Green. Bowling Green's a favorite. If you don't go with Bowling Green, I think it's going to be Berrien. Mm-hmm. Though I do think Glasgow has shown signs at times where they could possibly sneak up there and win it.
Yeah.
I don't think Warren East can win it. I do think they're the 4th best team, though.
Yeah. Warren East fits into that category of if you see them in the first round and you're supposed to beat them, don't be shocked if you don't.
Right. Now, the problem that East has is they have zero regional experience, any of these players.
Yeah.
It's been a while since they've been there, and that sometimes is a factor.
Yeah. Well, this is Brown Sports Bag brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
John, it's President's Day, so I figured, we'd take a few minutes to talk about presidents. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
President's Day. Not everything has to be about sports.
No, it's their day.
That's right. You're a government teacher and whatnot. I mean, is there a particular president that you like to talk about more?
Without getting too political?
Yeah, sure.
Let's go.
Well, here's the thing about presidents. People think of them in certain political ways,
yes.
but many of them, through history, respond in ways that are apolitical.
Okay. What about Lincoln?
Lincoln's a pretty good choice.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Kept the country together.
Yep.
Got us through the Civil War.
That's a good choice.
That's I like him. Mm-hmm. I'll put him in the top of my list.
Yeah.
I like him.
That's leadership making tough decisions, as we were discussing earlier.
Yeah. I liked. I think FDR got us through some interesting. He did some good, did some bad.
The funny thing about FDR in a way is he was a hatchet man toward his political enemies.
He was. Okay, well, knock him out.
But he did once again, we talk about leadership, and he did take leadership in a trying time in our country.
I like Kennedy.
Yeah.
Kennedy. Theodore Roosevelt was an interesting guy.
I actually like Theodore Roosevelt a lot because he was tenacious in the things he believed in. And he didn't care about party so much. He cared about what his objectives were. Some of them probably weren't the best objectives, and some of them were. He's a bit grandiose in certain ways.
He liked the environment.
He did like the environment. He liked to hunt, so he wanted to conserve the land.
He did.
So he could go hunt on it.
That's correct.
But I mean, he rankled people who were within his own party if they disagreed with him because he was kind of anti-industrialist in a lot of ways, and a lot of Republicans at that time were heavily industrialists, and so they really didn't care for some of his takes on things.
So, okay, nothing wrong with that, though, is it?
No, I think, again, sometimes you got to take leadership, whether people will agree with you or not.
That's correct.
One of my favorites is actually Jimmy Carter, and I think we talk sometimes about the moral nature of the people who lead our country, and
he checks those boxes.
He does indeed. He may have not been a very good president in terms of leadership in certain ways, but as a person, he may have been one of the better people we've ever had be president.
I tend to agree with that. Peanut farmer.
Peanut farmer, that's right.
And he's lived a life since he's become president. It's been exemplary.
Yeah,
the work that he's done.
Yeah, I mean. He basically left politics for all intents and purposes and went about his life's mission, which was to help people.
Yes.
And
has used his status to do so.
Yeah. I mean,
even Bill Clinton and George W. Bush has done some of that as well.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you.
Their past presidential life has been pretty good at times.
It's kind of interesting in the way that some presidents, post-presidency, realize the actual importance of the position they held after the fact, once they're out of the politics. And they do so much with that ability. Well, this is Brown Sports Bag, brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be back next week.
Thanks for listening, and be sure and join James and John once again next Monday at 4 for the Brown Sports Bag, a local weekly sports machine presented by McDonald's of Glasgow.
Coming soon to your FM dial, this is Fox Sports Radio, WCDS Glasgow, AM 1230.